Hey guys! Okay, I hope you guys are ready for today's video. I am going to be ranking all of the palettes from 2021 that I tried this year. These are all eyeshadow palettes that released in 2021. These are not all the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2021 because that would have just been excessive. So I tried 25 new eyeshadow palette releases from 2021 and I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jackie. I do beauty, special effects, and perfume videos on this channel. If you are into that kind of content, then please subscribe. To my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for your continued support and all of your love, and I just appreciate you guys so much. All right, you guys, let's just do this. Alright, quick disclaimer. All of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried this year were pretty good. There really weren't any that were just absolute terrible quality. There's definitely some that had better quality than others, but there was nothing that was just absolutely terrible. Oh, and fun fact about this video, this is also going to be a declutter. I have been on a declutter frenzy. I got rid of a bunch of eyeshadow palettes in a couple of videos, but I couldn't get rid of any of my 2021 released palettes because I was saving it for this video. So the ones that rank on the bottom will be leaving my collection, and that does not mean that I think that they're bad palettes. It just means that I only have one face and I can only have so many eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I've kind of set a goal for myself. I will be doing an updated collection at the end of this year, and I'll show you all the eyeshadow palettes that made the cut. In the number 25 spot, I have from Pat McGrath. This is the Divine Rose Luxe Quad in Eternal Eden. This is what the palette looks like. It's actually really pretty, and yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, okay? Let me start off by saying that. There's nothing wrong with the quality of this quad. This is your typical standard quality from Pat McGrath. Everything performs really well, so I'll just start off by saying that. But this is a very expensive quad. I think it retails for around $58, and there's 4 eyeshadows in here. So I'm okay with paying $58 for a quad, but it has to be something super special, and I just didn't find this one to be special at all. I was really kind of let down with this shimmer shade right here. It swatches really nicely, but on the eyes it just looks like another shimmer that you could get in another palette that's way more affordable. So I really don't feel like this quad was worth the money. I was really kind of just let down by it, and it's not my favorite. So I really think this is the only palette that I wouldn't recommend. You can get this look in a lot of other palettes, not just Pat McGrath. Like, you can get this look with a lot of other more affordable palettes. 4 eyeshadows for $58. You better be something really spectacular, and I feel like this one just fell short. So I'm actually going to be decluttering this one. Next up, I did review the entire BH Cosmetics Say It collection, and a lot of them are down on the bottom here, but they're not all in a row. I'm just going to rank them individually because some of them were better than others in my opinion. So in the number 24 spot, I have the Do Not Disturb palette from BH Cosmetics, and I was really kind of disappointed in this one because the shimmers are not what I know BH Cosmetics is capable of. Now the mattes in here are great. The formula for the mattes is spectacular, but the shimmers really did kind of let me down. They weren't very metallic. They weren't very wet looking, and I just know BH Cosmetics can do so much better. I don't think this is a terrible palette by any means. This is a very affordable palette. So, I mean, if you're interested in this palette, I don't think you're gonna hate it. You're gonna get what you would expect to get for such an affordable palette, I guess you could say. But like I said, I know BH Cosmetics can do better than this. I have lots of palettes from BH Cosmetics that blow this one like out of the water. And so I was a little bit let down. I do really like the color story, but I think the quality of this one is probably my least favorite out of all of them. Up next, we have the F Off palette. I'm not really going to show the front of it just because I kind of want to keep my channel, you know, PG-13-ish. But this is the Color Story. I think this is a beautiful color story. I was really excited for this one, but it's the same thing as the other one. The shimmers were a little lackluster for me. Mattes are great. Shimmers just don't have that wet looking metallic vibe that I'm really looking for. This one just kind of fell a little bit short for me. Again, it's not a terrible palette by any means. The quality is decent. It's just not quite BH Cosmetics level. I know they can do better. In the 22 spot, we have Looking Like a Snack. Now this one, I felt like the shimmer started to get better. I felt like this is a really pretty color story. The mattes were good. The shimmers were decent. They're starting to get better here for me. So I do like this palette, and if this is your color story, I would recommend it just because it is a very affordable palette, and yeah, I mean, it's just a nice palette. I don't think that it's amazing, but I do think it's good. I really do like this color story, and this shimmer shade right here is actually really, really pretty. In the number 21 spot, we have by ColourPop, we have the Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic palette. Oh, and just so you know, all the palettes I've talked about so far, I'm going to be decluttering, by the way. All right, so this one is by ColourPop. This is the Sprinkle a Little Magic. I think that it is such an adorable palette. Like, this outer packaging is absolutely stunning, and I really, really like it. And I really was intrigued by this color story. I felt like this is, I don't know, this just looks really, really pretty to me, and I really did like it. I don't think it's a terrible palette. This is kind of like a reverse situation. The shimmers in here are super beautiful, especially this shade right here. This is really, really gorgeous. But I found the mattes to be a little bit less than what I know ColourPop can do. I found this shade to be a little difficult to blend, and this isn't the best quality from ColourPop that I've ever seen. I know they can do better than this, and that's why I'm ranking it a little lower. I do really like this palette though. I mean, it's cute, it's pretty affordable, it's not terrible, you definitely can make it work. But I'm being a little harsh with my judgment just because I know they can do better. Shimmers are really, really pretty though. I'll be passing this one along just because in my mind I know it takes a little bit of extra effort, and I just have too many palettes that I love that are easy to work with to keep this one. So this one will be leaving my collection. In the number 20 spot, we have Let That Stuff Go by BH Cosmetics. It looks like this. This is a beautiful color story. I really love the greens in here, and this shimmer shade is really, really pretty. Again, I think the quality is starting to get better in this palette than before. I think it's really pretty and I like it, but now I'm starting to get to the place where I have to kind of rank it down where it is, just because I have so many other palettes that I absolutely loved from this year, and so you know, I gotta put it somewhere. It is a really nice palette. I do like it, but I have other green palettes in my collection that I like better. So I'm gonna be passing this one along, but I do think that the shimmer quality starts to get better with this one for sure. This next one is Low Key Love You. This is a really good one, you guys. I like this one a lot. I think the quality is really good in here. The shimmers were nice. The mattes were really good. The mattes are really good in all of them. I really like this color story. If you like red eyeshadow and you're looking for something that's a little bit more affordable, this is a great option. I do recommend it, but I'm going to be decluttering it just because I want to declutter the entire collection. I'm not going to just keep a couple palettes. I think I'm just going to pass the entire collection on to someone. As much as I think it's good quality, I have all these shades already in palettes that I prefer, but this is a good one. And then in the number 18 spot, we have Optimistic AF. This one was my favorite. Even though the color story is a little bit like neutral, I think the quality of this one is my favorite. I really do love the orange in here and the yellow. I think it's a really pretty look that you can make with this. Now, I did get all of the lip glosses that came with this, and I'm keeping all of the lip glosses because I love them. I think they're fantastic. I'm actually wearing the lip gloss today that goes with this palette, but I do really think this is a good quality palette. If this is your color story, very affordable palette, very good quality. I do really like it, but I am going to pass it along because, like I said before, I want to keep the collection together. All right, in the number 17 spot, we have by ColourPop the Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, even though this one is ranking a little bit lower, I'm still going to keep this one. I'm not going to declutter this one because I am a huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan, and this outer packaging is super, super cute. Plus, I really do like this color story. I know some people kind of didn't like it, but to me, it looks like Halloween to me, and I just really, really like it. So I am going to keep this one, even though I didn't feel like the quality was ColourPop's best. I felt like this palette was good but not great, and that's what I said in my review. So if you missed my review of it, I will link it above. But this orange shade right here is phenomenal. It's super, super vibrant and bright. But the other mattes I found to be, you know, they were good but not great, and the shimmers were good but not great as well. So overall, I just kind of found the quality of this palette to be, you know, I've seen ColourPop do better, and that's why I'm ranking it down a little bit lower. But I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I'm not wanting to part with it. I just love it, and I will use it during like the fall Halloween season. I'll be in the mood to pull this out. And really, I would only recommend this palette if you are a real Nightmare Before Christmas fan like I am. Otherwise, you know, the quality is just not going to blow your mind. But if you are a huge fan like I am, then, you know, you might want to think about getting it. It's cute. All right, now we're starting to get into palettes that are super good quality. Everything from here on out was amazing. And this is where it gets really, really tough because everything was amazing. And so I just had such a hard time figuring out what I was going to keep and what I was going to get rid of, how I was going to rank things. I'm really only wanting to keep 15 palettes. So I tried 25, and my goal is to get rid of 10 of these palettes because I just cannot have this many eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I still have a ton from previous years, and it's too much. So unfortunately, I'm going to be getting rid of some of these, but they're good, and I've done reviews on them, and I've told you that they're good, and that does not mean that I wasn't being truthful with you. I stand behind all my reviews, but some of these palettes I just don't reach for because I have so many, and they're just sitting there and they're not being used, and I need to pass them along to somebody who's just going to love them better than I ever could. The next one I have in this number 16 spot is by Urban Decay, and this is the Wild West palette. I actually really like this palette, you guys. I was shocked by this palette. I had no interest in it when I first saw it, but then I don't know, something happened. I kept going back to it, kept looking at it, and I really wanted to review it, and I found myself really enjoying it a lot. I think this is one of Urban Decay's better palettes. I think the quality is super good, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's really cute. I love the like pops of turquoise bluish kind of colors in here. I just think it's a really good palette. I really did enjoy it. However, after I reviewed it, I used it a couple of times and then I never reached for it again. I mean, this came out pretty early this year and I really haven't used it all that much, you know, and I realized even though I really like it and I do recommend it if this is something you have your eye on and you think you'll use it, I stand behind that, but I can't keep it. It's just a palette that's just going to sit there and it's too good to sit in my collection. So I am going to pass this one along, but I do think it's really good quality and I really did enjoy it when I used it. Alright guys, in the number 15 spot, this one kills me. It literally kills me to put this here because I think it's really good. It's a good palette. This is from Pat McGrath, and this is her new one. This is her holiday release. This is the Celestial Odyssey palette. I love this palette. I think it's really, really good. I think it's an amazing quality palette. I actually just used this for Thanksgiving. I did like a Thanksgiving glam look that I really loved the way that it turned out. The mattes perform really well. The shimmers are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the quality of this palette at all, and I actually really like the color story. I think my problem is that I feel like I have to force myself to use this palette. I feel like I have to make a conscious effort to pull this out and use it. I think I have to be honest with myself that I prefer palettes with more mattes, and this one just doesn't have enough mattes to keep me intrigued. It doesn't make me want to come back for more. I am a big matte person. I prefer more mattes in my palette to shimmers, even though I really love shimmers, but I use like 1 or 2 shimmers and the rest of my eye look is mattes. and there's only 4 in here to choose from, and so every time I come to do a look, it's always these same 4 mattes with really, 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 really pretty shimmers. The other thing is that when I want to use my Pat McGrath palettes, I want a special shade, at least one, you know? That's the fun part about Pat McGrath, is her amazing special shades that she has, and there really aren't any in this palette. So when I want to use Pat McGrath eyeshadow, I usually just grab for my Mothership palettes instead of these. So I think I've learned my lesson. As much as I like this palette, as much as I recommend it, if you do like this palette, if you don't mind that there's only 4 mattes in here, and you are really about the shimmers, and you love this color story, I do think it's phenomenal quality. I stand behind my review of this palette, and I think it is a really good palette. However, for me, I have too many other palettes that I will be reaching for over this one, so I am going to pass this one along. I am just going to be real and pass it along. I really do like it, but I know I won't really reach for it. I'm really going to want to reach for my other Pat McGrath palettes over this one, and so yeah, I'm going to pass this one along. I kind of like am hesitant. It's kind of like, wait, no, I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to stop buying the holiday ones. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think these palettes, I've learned my lesson. I got rid of the one from last year, and now I'm getting rid of this one. I think I'm just not going to buy her holiday palettes anymore because they don't have enough mattes, and they don't have any of her special shades, and that's what I truly love about Pat McGrath. I don't know why I keep buying these, but anyway, I do like it. I do recommend it if this is your vibe, but for me, I know I won't reach for it, so I'm going to pass it along. So that was my goal, you guys, to get rid of 10 eyeshadow palettes. So I was going to get rid of just my bottom 10 and keep my top 15, but that was my dilemma. It was like between the ColourPop palette, the Nightmare Before Christmas, and the Pat McGrath one. And so I told myself, you are getting rid of 10 of these palettes. It doesn't really matter if it breaks your heart. You're getting rid of 10. If it doesn't make it to the top 15, you're getting rid of it. But this one didn't make it to the top 15 just because the quality isn't amazing, but I just couldn't. You know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't part with this baby because I love Nightmare Before Christmas so much, and that's why the one in the number 15 spot, the Pat McGrath, got decluttered instead. This kind of sucks, okay? I'm not gonna lie. Why did I tell myself I had to get rid of 10? I don't know. So all the rest of the palettes that I have to talk about are phenomenal. I truly love them. I think they're amazing. I will definitely be reaching for them. I love them with my whole heart, and I will be keeping them. No more declutters from here on out. Okay, in the number 14 spot, we have by NATASHA DENONA, the Mini Love palette. This is an absolutely beautiful color story in my opinion, and if you like pinks and purples, I think you'd really like this. It's a very soft, romantic type of palette. This came out for Valentine's Day. I love that the color story is laid out for you. You really don't have to put a lot of effort into it. If you're in a hurry and you just want something quick, it's already laid out for you. It's really pretty. The shimmers are pretty. The mattes are pretty. I really love this palette. I think it's really good. And this kind of like shimmer shade right here is really pretty. And it kind of reminds me of the one that's in the Pat McGrath Quad palette. I feel like they're not exact same color stories, but they have kind of the same vibe. And really, if you are interested in that kind of a vibe, I would recommend this one. This is $25. Whereas the Pat McGrath Quad Eternal Eden is $58, I think. And this one I think is better. So that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, I really do like this. Definitely keeping this one. And the number 13 spot, again, we have NATASHA DENONA, and this is the Mini XENON. I really like this, you guys. I think it's super beautiful. And I think this is just a super fun color story. I think this is the palette I have chosen to use for New Year's this year. Yep, I think that this is going to be my New Year's Eve look for sure. It's just super like smoky and silvery, and it just kind of gives me New Year's Eve vibes. I think it's a beautiful color story. This shimmer in the middle is absolutely stunning, and the mattes are really good as well. They don't swatch super well, but they perform super well. So I really do love this, and I think I'll be rocking it for New Year's Eve this year. Number 12 goes to ColourPop's High Tide. I really love this palette. I think this is beautiful. I like the outer packaging, and I love the color story inside. If you like these kind of turquoisey, types of shades, I think you would really, really like this palette. I find it to be quite enjoyable, and I really like how it's laid out. I like that they have really, really light shades all the way up to really dark shades and everything in between. And I also really love this shimmer shade right here. I think it's super beautiful. Kind of reminds me of the ocean. I guess that's why it's called High Tide. Captain Obvious over here. The quality is really phenomenal as well. I think this is ColourPop's better quality palettes. And yeah, I highly recommend this one. I think it's beautiful, and it's one that I'm super excited to wear during the summertime. All right, this one was a little difficult for me to put so low. It's not low, I mean, it's up in the top. It didn't make a top 10, and I really thought that this would make top 10, but I just couldn't put it in the top 10 for one reason. And that is by Pat McGrath. This is the HUETOPIAN Dream. I love this outer packaging. The artwork of this is just beautiful. This is what the palette looks like, and I have to say this shade right here is breathtaking. It is just exquisite. It's beautiful. The special shades in here are gorgeous. This entire palette is gorgeous. I really love the color story of this, and I do love the quality. Is just like every other 10 pan Mothership palette from her. The only problem I have, and I said this in my review, is that a lot of these are repeat shades. I have most of the Mothership palettes, and I feel like I already have a lot of these shades, with the exception of this one. So basically, I felt like personally, I paid $125 for this shade. And I was very disappointed with that. However, if I take that aside, the palette itself is amazing. It's amazing. There's no denying that it's amazing, and this shade is pretty spectacular, I'm not gonna lie. So if you don't have all of the other Pat McGrath palettes, then yes, I would say definitely go for it. You would love it if this is your vibe and color story. I think that you would really like it. There's nothing to not like about this palette, but I was just a little irritated with the repeat shades personally, and that's why I ranked it a little bit lower in this list, because I wasn't as excited about this palette as I would have been if these were all like new unique shades for Pat McGrath. Anyway, I do really, really like it though, and there's no way that I'm getting rid of it. This is not being decluttered. Actually, none of the palettes, I told you guys that, none of the palettes are being decluttered from here on out. This shade right here is super beautiful as well. Oh, these two paired together, it's like a, oh, it's amazing. This is an amazing palette. I cannot deny that, but too many repeat shades for me to rank it any higher. All right, you guys, we have made it to the top 10. Top 10 2021 eyeshadow palettes, in my opinion. And in the number 10 spot, we have a palette by Glamlight, and this is in collaboration with Michaela. And this packaging is super fun. I think it's cute. I really, really like it. Then this is the color story. This is beautiful. I really like this color story. I love big palettes. I love palettes that gives me a lot of options. There's so many things you can do with this. I mean, literally you can do blues, greens, pinks. You can do neutral looks with this if you want to, oranges. It's just a super gorgeous and fun palette to play with. I think the quality is really good. I did a dedicated review of that, so I will link it. I really did enjoy this quite a bit. I did 3 looks, 1 palette. I've played with it since. The shimmers are beautiful. The mattes perform really well. I do really enjoy this palette quite a bit. So really highly recommend this one if you are into color. But if you're someone who likes pops of like neutral, or you want neutral with color, this is a great option. You get kind of both, you know, you get some neutrals and some color. So great, great palette. Really enjoy this one. In the number 9 spot, we have by NATASHA DENONA, we have the Retro palette. This is difficult for me to have this low because I genuinely love this palette with my whole heart. I think this is absolutely beautiful, and like I told you guys in my review, I highly recommend for just about everyone, because I think this is a color story that would look pretty on everyone. This is just a universally flattering color story in my opinion. Everything performs beautifully. I think it's so romantic, so beautiful. You really can make this, you know, deep and dark if you wanted to, or you can make it nice and light. You can just do whatever you want with this. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of light shades, mid-tone shades, and some darker shades for the outer corner. I think it's a really well laid out palette. I don't think you can screw this palette up. Every single thing that you use in here is going to go together. So really it's just, you know, a palette that's very easy to use, very beginner friendly, high quality. Love the color story. There's just nothing to not like about this palette. So yeah, I really recommend this one. I think it's absolutely stunning. Number 8 is by BH Cosmetics, and this is the Passion in Paris palette. This is stunning. Now this is what I expect from BH Cosmetics because I've seen what they can do, and this is gorgeous. So I know I talk about the Blueberry Muffin palette a lot because it's phenomenal, and this, in my opinion, is the exact same quality. Beautiful. It leans more on the purple side, and I do think that the palettes are different enough from each other to justify having both, and I did kind of a comparison video, so I'll link that above if you missed it. But this is a beautiful color story. I love purples. I love the quality. Absolutely stunning. $18. $18, and this is a high-end performing palette in my opinion. Like, as you can see, this is ranking up there with the rest of them, and yeah, it's just absolutely mind-blowingly good. So if you're looking for something affordable with really amazing high-end quality, I do recommend this palette. Number 7 we have by Huda Beauty, and this is the Rose Quartz palette. This is phenomenal. It's so gorgeous, you guys. I really like this palette. I did a review on this and kind of was shocked at how much I loved it. I told you guys in the review that I wasn't interested in it at first because the pictures just don't do it justice, but this is gorgeous in person. Gorgeous. I ranked it a little bit lower just because this isn't my typical like type of eye look. I'm usually a little bit more bold than this, and I'm not crazy about this like stone shade right here. But overall, this is a gorgeous palette, and the shimmers in here is what makes it. The shimmers are just so, especially this one. It's so like iridescent, and it reminds me of like a fairy. Like a fairy just, you know, prancing around in a magical forest. I really love this palette. So if you've had your eye on this and you're just not sure, I would recommend it because it is a really good quality palette. The mattes are great. The shimmers are great. Really enjoyed this one more than I thought I was going to. Speaking of palettes that I enjoy more than I thought I was going to, in the number 6 spot, we have by Pat McGrath, the Quad from her and Venus and Fleur Luxe Quad Voyeuristic Vixen. I had zero intention of getting this palette. I'm not a quad person, and if you expect me to pay $58 for a palette, then you better come swinging. You better have something super spectacular for me because I'm not impressed easily with quads. And I'm not impressed easily with a palette that only has one matte. I'm usually not impressed with this color story. By all intents and purposes, this should not be up so high on my list, but I have fallen head over heels in love with this quad. I think it is phenomenal. This shade right here is amazing. It is breathtakingly amazing, and it makes it worth every single penny. Now the rest of the shades are phenomenal as well, but this shade, oh my gosh, you guys, it's gorgeous. This matte shade right here is beautiful as well, and it blends out in such a way that you can get by with just having that one matte. I'm always shocked when I use this at how much I love it and what an amazing eye look it creates. 4 shadows, only one matte. I don't know how it works, but it just does. It's phenomenal. Okay, now we're getting into the top 5, and this was very difficult. I went back and forth with these because these palettes, all 5 of them, blew my mind. I love all 5 of these palettes and highly recommend all 5. But in the number 5 spot, we have the Antidote palette in collaboration with Stacey Marie Be Perfect Cosmetics. I love this palette, you guys, so much. This was my first time ever trying Be Perfect Cosmetics, and I was impressed to say the least. I love the greens in here. I love the orange and red tones. This came out in the fall, and I thought it was just perfect. Perfect timing. I mean, this says fall, like nothing else. This is a beautiful fall palette. I know for a lot of people this is a very big palette and it's kind of overwhelming, and people don't like palettes that are this big because this is literally ginormous. I don't mind it at all. I really have told you guys before, I love palettes that give me a lot of options, that really get my creative juices flowing. I love palettes where I can sit down and just play. The quality is phenomenal. Mattes, shimmers. Oh, the shimmers, they'll blow your mind. Beautiful. I will definitely be trying more Be Perfect eyeshadow palettes. They're on my radar for sure now, ever since trying this, because the quality just blew my mind. Number 4 spot is by NATASHA DENONA, and this is the Circo Loco palette. I love this palette. You guys know that I love this palette. I've talked about it a million times. I did 3 looks 1 palette with this. I did a dedicated review on it. I am obsessed with this palette. I think it's super beautiful. The quality is amazing. I think the reason why I put it in the number 4 spot and not higher is because of this shimmer shade right here, this orange. It will build up to be that intense on the eyes, but you do have to build it up. It's kind of light when you first put it on. That's the only complaint I have of this palette. Oh, and it's $129. So yeah, there's that too. But this is one of those releases that actually got me excited. I mean, actually made my heart flutter. I have been waiting for NATASHA DENONA to release a palette like this for a very, very long time. She's more into kind of like neutral, not all the time, but a lot of times they're very neutral, kind of toned down palettes. She's really never done anything this colorful. And for a color lover who loves NATASHA DENONA, this was amazing. I also like the way it's laid out. People didn't like the way it's laid out because it's all over the place, because it's like a crazy circus. But I liked it because it made me think outside the box. It made me really want to play. It just makes me want to play. This palette inspires me to play and get creative. I love it so, so much. I think it's a perfect summertime palette. I just really think that it's something special. So this is in the number 4 spot, and I really do love it. It's beautiful. In the number 3 spot, we have by Melt, the Amor y Mariposas, and this is beautiful. This artwork is to die for. You've got these like hummingbirds right here that kind of look like thorns around a heart with butterflies, flowers. This is really my cup of tea. This type of artwork with the butterflies in the back, it's purple. This is everything that I love. I really just appreciate the artwork of this for sure. I also really appreciate the color story. This is gorgeous in my opinion. This is everything I love in a palette as far as color story. It's got purples, it's got greens, it's got oranges. It's just gorgeous, you guys. I really truly love the color story, and I feel so inspired to play with this as well. And this is actually the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. I did take some glitter, my Pixie glitter, and I added glitter onto the lid. But yeah, this is absolutely stunning. I was just kind of in a glittery type of mood today, kind of like a festive, Christmassy, glittery kind of look. Not that I think that this palette needs any help. It certainly doesn't. I just wanted to add in glitter today. You know what I mean? But by itself, this palette is phenomenal. The quality is beautiful. The mattes are so pigmented and yet so easy to blend. And I love that. I feel like Melt has kind of a reputation for being inconsistent, but this palette, there's nothing inconsistent about it. This is absolutely beautiful. The shimmers are phenomenal. The mattes are phenomenal. I love the color story. I love the ratio of mattes to shimmers. Like, this is totally my cup of tea, my vibe, 100%, and how I like to do my eyeshadow. There's really, really dark mattes in here, but there's also mid-tone mattes. And this shade right here makes for a really good inner corner highlight, so you can get a complete eye look with this. I just think it's phenomenal. All right, these next two I have debated back and forth on for a while, trying to determine which one I think is truly number 1. Like, what is my heart really saying? Because both of these could easily be in the number 1 spot. Okay, number 2 spot is going to the Club Nebula palette. This is Kaleidos in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, and this is absolutely stunning. I was obsessed with this palette when I first saw it released. When she announced that she was releasing this palette and actually showed it to us, my mouth was like watering. I was drooling. I was obsessed. I got the palette. The formula is phenomenal and I really, really love it. Now, I'm sorry to be torturing you if you did not get your hands on this palette because I know you can't get it anymore. And that's kind of really annoying to me. I really wish that this was a palette that was available because it was really popular. I mean, people like this palette. It's so good. I really hope they bring it back. Kaleidos? You need to bring this palette back. I think it's just phenomenal and I enjoy it so, so much. Everything about it is spectacular. The color story is amazing. All the mattes perform really well. There's a good matte to shimmer ratio in here. The shimmers are blow your mind spectacular. I did 3 looks 1 palette with this as well. I have so much fun playing with this palette and I think it is just wonderful, and I don't think I would ever get rid of this palette because it just amazes me every single time I play with it. Alright guys, we are here. We are at the #1 palette for 2021 in my humble opinion, and that goes to Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina collection. This is the Pro Pigment Volume 5 and this is what she looks like. She's beautiful. She's beautiful. When this palette came out, there is no way that anybody could have told me that I was going to be sitting here today telling you this was the #1 palette of 2021. Not that I didn't think it was going to be good. I like the Pro Pigment palettes in the past, but this one blows the other ones out of the water in my opinion. The quality of this is phenomenal. Purple is my favorite eyeshadow color, so I'm a little bit biased here. The color story is amazing. But then the quality is spectacular on top of it, and this is just breathtakingly good. I get compliments when I wear this palette almost every single time. The shimmers in here are amazing. The mattes are amazing. Again, this is the best quality of the Norvina Pro Pigment palettes. I did 2 videos with this palette. I did one reviewing it initially, and then I did 3 looks 1 palette, and you can surprisingly get quite a few looks out of this. There's a lot of options in here. I just love this palette with my whole heart. #1 of 2021 in my opinion. This one deserves all the love and all the credit, and yeah, I just think it's phenomenal, and it's the palette that I enjoyed the most this year. So that's it, you guys. Those are the 25 palettes that I tried that were released in 2021 ranked, and I would love to hear from you guys. I want to know what you think. What is the #1 palette that you tried that was released this year? What are your favorites? I love to hear from you guys. Please let me know in the comment section below. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!